Hi, everybody. Welcome to spiritual-psychology.org. By watching this simple video, you will learn exactly how to end your depression today. Now, I hate to sound like a know-it-all, but I really am an expert on depression. By using this simple scientific method to end my own depression, I became an expert. So I know this thing works. It's so simple, a 6-year-old child can easily learn it. And by the way, I just heard a great depression joke. A guy called suicide prevention in Pakistan. I want to commit suicide, he says. An excited voice on the other end of the phone asks, can you drive a truck? So, how did I get rid of my depression? With gratitude. I became grateful. I know, this sounds a bit hokey. The first guy who told me about gratitude said, I should be grateful for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Here I am suffering from a major depression, and he tells me gratitude for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is going to make it all better. Come on, get real. In the beginning, it sounded a bit impossible to me too. You and Dr. Pangloss, I told this guy, in case you've forgotten, Dr. Pangloss was Voltaire's voice of wisdom in his classic novel Candide. This one character in the book gets captured by cannibals. No refrigeration back in those days, so they don't kill her immediately. Instead, they chop off her ass cheek and eat that first. Then, as the days go by, they plan on chopping off other parts of her body, one by one, while she's still alive, of course. But these cannibals are not barbarians. They're civilized, full of compassion. Because she's hungry too, they offer her part of her own ass cheek. That way she'll eventually get chopped up and die, but at least she won't die hungry. But then, just in the nick of time, before the cannibals chop off the other ass cheek, Voltaire sends in the rescue party. And after she's rescued, Dr. Pangloss, the personification of ignorance is bliss, tells everyone, this is the best of all possible worlds. Well, if this is actually the best of all possible worlds, as Voltaire claims, then a peanut butter and jelly sandwich could easily be the answer to the energy crisis or anything else. So naturally, I shined the guy off. Little did I know, 25 years later, I would still be depressed. Then, surprise of all surprises, talk about coincidence, I meet this same guy again, walking down the street. No, it wasn't the same street. Hi, Doug. How's it going, he asks. Hey, my old friend Dr. Pangloss, I tell him. I'm great. Naturally, I didn't tell this guy I'm still depressed, and actually, I was in the worst depression of my life. So he says, did you finally learn how to be grateful? For a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Never. Then he said, it takes a couple of hours to learn how to be grateful. Nobody is ever grateful otherwise. I responded and told him I was in a very big hurry and escaped the rest of his nonsense. But I kept thinking about what he said. That is, it takes a couple of hours to learn how to be grateful. And especially about the other thing, otherwise nobody is grateful. Now, I believe that. You know, I never looked at it that way before. If that's true, then I never learned it. Nobody in my family taught me how to be grateful. Nobody was even grateful. I wasn't grateful. My father wasn't grateful. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, probably nobody. The way I figured it, gratitude must have been bred out of our family for at least 4 generations. Our family philosophy is, if you get any pleasure out of life, you're damned lucky. Well, some of the time I got little or no pleasure from life, and the rest of the time I was miserable. So I just figured the family philosophy was absolutely correct. Well, the main reason for my present depression crisis was I was trying to be a writer, but I wasn't selling anything. So in order to save money on the rent, I moved aboard my 27-foot miniature ocean racing sailboat so I could continue writing. Otherwise, I'd have to get a job just to pay the rent. Up to that time, I dealt with depression by taking action. Action is the magic word. I became a jogger. Also, I discovered any action is good. Scrubbing the floor, walking around the block, washing the car. But now that I was living on the boat, my depression got so bad I could not force myself to take any action. I had turned into a very depressed couch potato. There was one advantage to being this depressed. I never had to make my bed. That's because I was always in it. I had given up on therapy 25 years before, but now I was thinking about it again. Only trouble was, now I didn't have the money. So what could it hurt? I decided to spend a couple of hours learning how to be grateful. And if that would cure my depression, think of all the money I could save by not going to therapy, which I couldn't afford anyway, so what could it hurt? I was finally able to force myself to walk to Burton Chase Park. It was just too depressing on the boat, and I vowed I wouldn't go back to the boat until I got to the bottom of this gratitude thing. I was going to become grateful for at least one thing if it killed me. The first hour went by, nothing. I could not find one thing to be grateful. And no, I would never become grateful for that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. To make a long story short, after a few hours, I was really discouraged, and I was about to give up when I heard a voice inside my head which said, "You should be grateful you weren't born as a chicken." That's ridiculous, I thought. How could I have been born as a chicken? Then I remembered something about Voltaire. Later in life, he believed in reincarnation. His Christian friends all asked him how he could believe in something so silly. Voltaire replied, "It's easy to believe in being born more than once. But first, you have to fully comprehend and totally understand it's absolutely impossible to be born even once." Suddenly, it didn't seem so impossible for me to be born as a chicken. If I was born as a human, which is totally impossible to begin with, I certainly could have been born as a chicken or a cockroach or anything else. They throw chickens in one end of a machine. It cuts off their heads, drains all the blood, defeathers them, cuts out all the guts, etc. And what's left over comes out ready for the deep fryer. It would have been the $4.95 special at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Suddenly, I was genuinely grateful. No, I had not become a famous writer. Maybe I'd have been grateful for that. I don't know. The only thing that changed in life was me. Instead of being ungrateful for all the things I didn't have and grateful for nothing, I began being grateful for the little I had. And guess what? My depression disappeared. It's a scientific fact. It's actually impossible to be grateful and depressed at the same time. Every day I started making a list of 5 new things for which I could be grateful. I was no longer a depressed couch potato. I got back to writing and finished 4 more screenplays and 6 episodes of a television series. Only trouble was I didn't sell any of it. Well, I'm not grateful about this or any other failure in my life, but instead, in order to save my sanity, I continued to come up with 5 new things for which I was grateful every day. Well, that's my story. Please avail yourself of all the free information for dealing with depression on my website, spiritual-psychology.org. Also, I wrote a book. Anyone suffering from any kind of emotional pain, not just depression, should read it. It only sells for $4.95, and it's called Spiritual Psychology, a Scientific Approach to Ending All Emotional Pain Immediately. It's sold, of course, on a satisfaction guaranteed or your money back basis, so you risk nothing. Well, very best of luck ending your depression and other emotional pain. Have fun at spiritual-psychology.org and have a great day.